Welcome to the Crush It in Sales podcast. I'm your host, Melinda Van Fleet. This podcast focuses on the intersection of sales, leadership, and personal development. Now let's get ready to dig in and crush it.
All you need in this life is ignorance and confidence, and then success is sure. Mark Twain. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me on the Crush It in Sales podcast. I am going to talk this week about confidence, because if you've been listening to my earlier podcasts or even the Good Karma Success Coach podcast, or follow me on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, you will know that Ryan and I are very excited to be co-authoring a chapter on confidence for the 4th annual best-selling book series called Brilliant Breakthroughs for the Small Business Owner. And I've been feverishly working on getting my first draft done so I can turn it in this week. And I've had some different scheduling things happen with interviews or whatever, but I just keep forging along. And I wanted to talk about confidence because there's also something happening in my husband's business that has just been really amazing to watch unfold. So they are hand in hand, which is great timing for me, right? For us to be writing this chapter. And I just think it can help a lot of people out there. So I wanted to share some story around that and then some action tips at the end. So the first thing I want people to know is confidence is something you build over time. It's a muscle. It's like all of those other skills and traits that you hear about and learn about. But unfortunately, so many people assume that confidence is something you're born with. You know, you see these kids on YouTube or on Little Big Shots or America's Greatest Talent, you know, any of those things where they're like really little and they get up there and they sing and they dance. You know, my niece Sydney has a lot of confidence. And even my niece Sienna with her acting has a lot of confidence. And so some people might think, oh, you're born with it. And there might be some truth to that, but for the most part, every single person can work on developing confidence. And I think it's really important to take time to compartmentalize that. So, and I love that quote from Mark Twain. I really, really love it. And I'll refer back to it in regards to a story for something else that's going on now that could be a mistake in an idea I had. And as Judy Holler says, there's no mistakes, only gifts. But, sometimes we take a chance on something and that doesn't work. So I'll share that story as well. So the first story I want to share is with my husband's business, which is Good Karma Sportfishing. Again, if you follow us, you know that this is my husband's dream business and our baby that we built from the ground up when we moved to the Keys, which was all things we manifested and had come true. And I have been asking him and talking to him about doing courses for quite some time now, definitely over a year. And it's been a constant conversation. And I've been the person in the background doing the research and watching courses, buying courses, books, etc., listening to people, listening to podcasts. And it's just never sat right with my husband. The whole idea of funnels and live promotion, and there's a launch date, and you might have a bunch of affiliates. Like that whole process that is taught, it just never sat right with my husband. And I give him huge props for that, because there's something about doing things that you love, and there's a lot of probably evidence, I would say, around that. You know, have the positive energy behind what you're doing, the intention, and that's where you will see success. And I believe in that. I believe in that thought process. So as I was continually sharing things with him, he was always just kind of like, no. And even, another person whose books I've read and watched him speak is Russell Brunson. You know, he has his whole funnel system and his way of doing it. And what we ended up doing is kind of picking apart little bits that we thought could work for my husband, work for where he's at energetically, where he is also time-wise. He's super busy. When the weather's good, he fishes every day with clients. So it's not like he really has time to be doing this whole funnel system and 5-day challenges and live webinars and a special Facebook group for this and that. He just doesn't really have time for all that. So it was like, okay, what works for him and how can we incorporate that with how he feels energetically and also his time and his skill set. So what we decided to do was to do mini courses that are little videos and price them accordingly, price them by what we feel energetically the value might be and his audience might be willing to pay. And the idea is that they buy lots of these courses, right? If one interests them, there's no money mindset issue around paying that amount of money, and we're giving a lot of value, and they feel that they're getting a lot of value. So it's like just this win-win and this constant like circle of momentum. And you know what? It's working. So he has 5 courses up right now. We're going to do another one this morning. I'm actually the videographer who knew that I have this skill set. And that is what is working. And it goes back to confidence. He had the confidence not to be a follower, but to be a leader. And to be like, you know what? All of this other stuff that's out there that people are preaching and saying that we need to do don't work for me and don't work for us and don't work for our business. So we're going to take this path. And that is confidence. And I love it. But that takes time. When he started his charter business over 8 years ago, he didn't have that level of confidence. He was like, I don't know what we're doing. We're going to figure this out, right? So that took a long time to get there, but he worked on it. I worked on it. We worked on it together. We're a team. So those are the different things that you have to remember as you're working towards something. Another thing I thought of is that, you know, when you're working on your confidence, or even if you say you're confident, one of those aspects is not being afraid to say that you're wrong. Because sometimes you're wrong and you make lots of mistakes. So this week, I had the idea to create this little quiz on a Google Doc. It took me just like 15 minutes to create it. It's questions about Captain Ryan and the podcast. And it's in his private Facebook group, which is called Good Karma Sportfishing Podcast, that he started a few months ago. Another confidence thing that he finally had the confidence to start a private Facebook group after all these years. And the idea is, in celebration of his 2nd year anniversary of his podcast, we were going to have this little giveaway. This was kind of my brainy idea, and he was on board with it. And so we created the Google Doc. We posted it on Sunday. They have till this Friday to fill out the little quiz, and then they get put into a drawing, and there'll be 3 winners that get this special proprietary thing. It's actually something, a tangible thing that my husband has developed, and it's really cool. And it's not something we're selling. It's just something that my husband developed with his own creativity, because he's super creative. And he thought would be really cool for his audience. Well, so far it's crickets on the Google Doc. It's totally crickets. And who knows, you know, they have till Friday. Today's Wednesday morning, so they have till Friday. So we'll see if any of the guys or girls fill it out. But you know what? It could be a flop. And if so, that's okay. We tried something. And it didn't cost us any money. So that's even a bonus. He'll use his things he made either for himself or give them away for something else. And a Google Doc is free. So there was no cost. And I'm confident enough to own that, to say, you know, this was kind of my brainy idea and it flopped. But it is what it is, and we tried it. So have enough confidence to not admit that, to not be afraid to admit when you're wrong. I think that is like super important. So I want to go over some action steps with you in regards to confidence. And I truly believe that everyone has something that they're probably working on in regards to building confidence or getting stronger in the area of confidence for something. So I think that too many people think that confidence is just this big thing, this big scary thing. Oh, I don't have any confidence. Well, if you sat down and thought about it, there's probably lots of things that you're confident in. but you don't give yourself props for that. You're so busy focusing on what you're not confident in. So we're going to start with step 1. And step 1 is to sit down, take a journal, a pad of paper, your phone, whatever works for you, and write down things that you know you're confident in. It could be something as simple as taking care of my children, right? For us, it's taking care of our dogs. We're good with our dogs. They're very healthy. They're very happy. I think we do a great job as dog parents, and I'm very confident in that, right? I'm great at taking care of our yard, so I'm confident in that. So little things, right? You don't have to make it some big thing that you built some billion-dollar business. It's just little stuff, little daily stuff. Like you're confident in your sleep patterns and your disciplines for the day. So sit down and make like this nice, yummy list of all the things that you know you're confident in. Part 2 is then think of all the things that you know you want to work on, right? So for me, I'm going to use an example from last year and then a current example. My example from last year was getting confident on video. And then I'll talk about this as we go through the steps. And I worked through that. Now it's confident with my weight. I have always been someone that hides my arms and my thighs and really fussy about pictures, really, really fussy. So if you were to look at pictures of me, you would never think I have any weight issues, but there are definitely a good amount of pounds that I could lose. So I've actually talked about this on the Good Karma Success Coach, I think episode 77 or 78. My why for starting a healthy weight release program. And so that's where I'm working on some confidence around, especially with all the things that we have going on. I really want to feel confident in my own body. So that's what I'm working on. So those are on my list. Part 2 is going over your why. Your why is so important. Your why is so important in anything you do, because obviously this whole podcast relates to your life, personal development, relates to sales if you're a sales rep, and relates to leadership, right? So your why could be, to be a better leader or be a better salesperson as you're thinking about your steps from step 1. So my why for trying to get better on video was just because I want to work on building an audience. I want to get better at speaking. I want to understand what I look like when I speak, how I can, maybe smile more or move my mouth differently or my facial expressions. So video is great for building an audience, but then also to practice. So I wanted to get better at that. So that was my why. And I already talked about my why for my weight release. So really think about your why and try to write out your whys for all of the things that you have on your list that you want to improve. And then also too, in this section, I want you to circle back on the things that you're good at, that you have confidence in, and think about how did you get there? Do some reflection, because often we're so busy going through our life and our daily routine that we never think back, oh, wow, yeah, I got better at that. It took 2 years, but I worked on that, and this is how I worked on it. And now it's not even a thought anymore, right? It's not even like a conversation in my head. So give yourself some props for that, and that will also ground you so you can productively work on your action steps. You'll have that confidence that you accomplished something, right? It all kind of goes in a big circle if you think about it. And then you can work on step 3. So then step 3 is obviously your action. What actions are you going to take? Even like it's a baby step every day, it's a baby step every week, whatever corresponds. If you want to get better at blogging, you might just want to write once a week. That's what fits in your schedule, and you work on that once a week. So for me, with the video last year, if there's anyone out there that remembers that, like shoot me an email. I did a daily Instagram story that was just a minute, where I reviewed someone else's content. And I did it on my morning walk whenever I was home. And if I was traveling, I just did it in my car or whatever. So every morning I listened to somebody's podcast, and then I talked about that podcast. I gave a couple tips on what I learned from that podcast, and I shared that podcast. And I did that every single day. I never missed a day, even on vacation, from June till early October. And then I stopped because it just didn't serve me anymore. I was good. I'm not listening to that many podcasts anymore. So I was working more on creating versus consuming, and I felt more confident on video. So I kind of got the practice in. I got like the whole dynamics down. I don't know how many more followers I got. I didn't really pay attention to that as much, but I definitely got the practice down, and that worked. It was great. So I really had an action plan, and I did it. And again, it was months. So June, July, August, September. So a good 4 months, I did it every day. So that was a huge action step, and it worked. It totally worked. And then I crossed it off my list. So with the healthy weight release, I made a decision to start on July 6th, a healthy weight release program. And this morning I weighed myself. It's been 3 weeks, 3 weeks and a couple of days. And I've lost 13 pounds so far. So I have released 13 pounds so far, and I am super excited. So that is totally working for me as well. And already I feel my clothes are looser, and I'm feeling better about myself. I'm not feeling so uncomfortable. I think that was one of the things too with my why, is I just wasn't feeling comfortable like sitting at my desk. I could feel the weight on me, and when I looked in the mirror, I could just see it. It was just like a constant reminder. So I had to take action. So whatever your things are that you're wanting to get more confident in, your activities or your skill sets, definitely go through those steps. Like recognize them, think about your why, because that gives you motivation and reason. And we all need motivation and reason. And then think of your action steps. And once you break it down like that, it's not so scary. And like I said, once you realize the things that you've done before to get where you are with what you are confident in, that's not so scary either. And you'll be like, oh, I got this. What? This is so easy. I'm the most confident in the person in the world. This is so easy. We all have infinite potential to be successful. So don't let these little things that everyone else can do out there stop you. Please. I have chills saying that right now. Please. Don't let these little things stop you. Get them out of the way, keep nipping at them, nip at the bud, and you will see your personal life, your sales, your leadership skills, whatever buckets this all falls into in relation to this podcast, because we're at the intersection of sales, leadership, and personal development. All of those things can be worked on. Working on your confidence is like working on your muscles, and I know you all can do it. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you're interested in reaching out to me to learn more about my healthy weight release program, I would love to share it with you. I am so happy. I can't even believe it. I feel like, where have you been all my life? I've been struggling with fat thighs since I was a kid. I remember sitting by the pool and putting my hands over my thighs. I mean, this goes way back. So we all have something to work on. So whether it is the weight release or just coaching in general, I definitely want to help you live your best life. And I definitely believe that we can all take ownership of our lives, take action, and make all of our dreams happen. So please share this podcast with a friend or family member. You can also find me on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook. And until next time, I hope you crush it in sales. Thank you for listening.